Prep has been good. You know, it's the most prep that we've had in a really long time since our off week. So you always forget this time of the year is kind of like that. You go from playing in conference and, you know, scout, never get to work on yourself. And this has been a good week for us to just be able to get back to us a little bit and work on us. But then obviously play a team that you know nothing about. So we've had our work cut out for us, but it's been really good so far.
So to that end, focusing on you guys, what have you found yourselves really leaning into this week?
Yeah, I think you know, just our execution, just details, little things within our offense. I feel like we've gotten away from running in transition the way that we were early on in the season. And so just getting back to that, you know, have had people in and out of rotations, and we're all healthy now. So that's been good to just get that continuity back. But a lot of just offensive stuff for us.
How important is that health? Because you don't go too incredibly deep down the bench anyway, but you really rely on who you use.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think that depth at this point in the year is crucial for a lot of reasons, but it's been good to have that full roster back and just get reps together. You know, that's been the interesting thing in conference is maybe you would have everyone healthy, but they weren't getting any practice reps together. We've been able to do that this week, so that's been really good.
Jacie, what is the scout on Miami so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very evenly matched team for us, you know, statistically. They're really, really good at rebounding the ball. They're going to be physical. We feel like we've got opportunities to really score it, and the way that they play their defense, they give up a lot of threes, which is great for us, which is why we're working on our offense. But no, they're just they got two really good players that we're going to have to focus on defensively. But the biggest thing is just we got to take care of the basketball and we got to rebound.
You've got some veterans that have never experienced March Madness this way before. What's the talk been like with some of those newbies really to this?
Well, I think we have a cool blend because we've got some that have been to the tournament that haven't won, and so they're really hungry to get a win in the tournament. We have some who know how to win in the tournament. Our returners, you know, Cassidy, Talon, Lexi, they all got a taste of winning, and so they kind of give that experience. And then, like you said, we've got some who've never been, and so they're just excited. And you know, but I think it's like I said, just a really great blend because they kind of balance each other out, and there's an excitement, but also you know, a maturity and a poise and a hunger there as well.
How do you try to keep that balance to benefit you? Because you don't want it to get, you know, it is a win or go home situation. How do you keep it from getting the pressure built that way?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we just got to continue to do what got us here. And that's been my message all week long is, and that's honestly, I mean, we just now talked about Miami today for the first time because we're just focused on us. And our theme all year long has been us versus us. And we feel like if we just do what we know we're capable of doing and, you know, just stick to that principle, then we're going to be fine. So that's kind of the approach we've taken.
Jacie, if we go way back to the offseason, when it came to putting this roster together, obviously you guys hit the transfer portal heavy. What were some of the things you were really prioritizing and all that?
At that point in time, we were prioritizing kids who have won and know how to win. And we were able to get a lot of those kids. You know, you look at obviously Mimi coming with me. She won at a high level. She won a championship with me. Taryn Milton and Claire both won a conference tournament and played in the tournament, the NCAA tournament. Lior, I mean, my goodness, played on a great Villanova team, had won on a grit. Didn't necessarily get a ton of playing time at Arizona, but man, she was on a team coming off of a national championship game. So just kids that, you know what it takes to win, want to win, and have won at a high level.
Whenever you were putting this together, was there ever any worry to how it would mesh when you bring in so many new people?
I think always that's going to be there, and that's where, you know, I take great pride and responsibility as the leader to kind of say this is what we're doing and this is how it's going to look. And you know, you really have to be diligent as you're getting to know the different players on what they're looking for and what their personalities are, to making sure that that's all going to fit together. And I felt like we knocked it out of the park with that.
a lot of the stories, Scott did one the other day on behind the scenes of your players, what they've gone through to get here, where they're from, so forth, are starting to get out because of their success, that they're playing longer than other people. Is there a secret, or is there a with the diversity of this team, is that one of their secrets to being good? They've all bought into each other's stories?
Yeah, no, I think that maybe not as much as buying into the stories as much as the mission. Like,
Okay.
why are we here? We're here to win. You know, we wanna be builders of something. We wanna lay a foundation. We wanna have a taste of something that maybe they hadn't had before. And so I think it's that common mission and purpose that has really driven us. And then it's like, we all appreciate where each other's coming from, you know, and our backstories and why we all wanted to come here. But I think that's really kind of been our sole, you know, focus, is just what brings us together, not so much like the differences that we've got.
Obviously, it's been a pretty successful foundation here. Is the portal something you're going to look to in the future? Do you even think about that, or what do you envision roster looking like?
I mean,
in a year?
unfortunately, we always have to be thinking about it as coaches. That's just the new norm. And you know, we brought in some really talented players, and unfortunately for us, their clock is up. We've got a lot of fifth years, so we're definitely going to have to go back to the portal and reload. But man, I'm so excited about the foundation and the core group of players that we have, you know, from this season. I feel like we've taken a step forward from last year at this time. You know, we had 4 kids on our roster, and they were solid and awesome, and absolutely loved what we were able to keep, but there were only 4 of them. And now we can say, you know, we've got more than that, and so we'll just continue to build.
As you look at the future, whether it's high school or portal, are you getting the feel that your story, your team, your identity is getting out there now?
Absolutely. I love where our brand is right now. Oklahoma State's brand is strong. I think on a national level, more than even just women's basketball, but certainly women's basketball right now, I feel like we've got great momentum. Our fan base has grown tremendously. You know, I showed a picture yesterday trying to help our players understand how proud they should be of what we've built. And it was a picture from our very first game. There's not a lot of people in the stands. And then you show a picture of our last home game, and it's a packed house. And so you want to talk about momentum, whether it's the fact that we're playing in the tournament, whether it's our fan base, whether it's the fact that Taryn Milton puts us on ESPN Sports Center Top 10 recently. I mean, our brand is really strong right now, and we feel like we're in a good place.
How much urgency have you seen from the fifth years, especially with this being their last go at it?
Yeah, I think a great deal of urgency, but also just a great amount of just poise and composure, you know, not getting too turned up or too, you know, over the top with their emotions. I've really seen a good balance there. And I think it just goes back to their experience and their maturity. This isn't their first time.
Obviously, with all your international players, you know, you're dealing with some gals who are a long ways from home.
Yeah.
But I think about Lior and some of the strife that's going on in Israel. How do you try to make sure you're attentive and making sure she's attentive to that, but not letting it sort of consume all of her time?
Yeah, you know, Lior just she handles her business. She's very mature. She's very business oriented. She really keeps the main thing. I've never really felt like, you know, whether that be homesickness or whatever's going on back home. I mean, she just never lets that carry into basketball. And so, you know, I think that's great credit to her and how she carries herself. But also, I think that our culture and our environment here is so positive, and it's so family oriented, that I think that her and everyone else just feels a great sense of, you know, belonging and comfort here. And that's ultimately what's helped us be so successful this season.
Do you think the fact that you do have some others that are like her, you know, sort of removed from family,
Yeah.
it enables her to be able to talk about some of that stuff a little more freely?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know, we've got several international players, and they all lean on each other. They all, whether that's, you know, just understanding being away from family. It's so cute just hearing them talk about, you know, the different foods that they miss, or making different meals and trying different foods, you know, from their culture and their background. They really, you know, have just been, I think, great sisters to each other. And then our you know, players that are here in our home, you know, I think do a good job of embracing them as well.
Does Jasmine play an important role in all of that too? Because you've talked about, you know, her presence as a recruiter over there, but also she played.
She did play
internationally,
overseas. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Jasmine is just an incredible connector of people. She's so smart. She's just got so much experience from traveling and playing at a high level, coaching at a high level, and so she definitely has been a real grounding force for us this year.
When you mentioned the importance of rebounding in this game, I imagine it's important every game, but what does that look like for you guys where it's a key of emphasis?
Well, I think that they're different because they just all rebound from all 5 spots. I mean, their point guard is crashing in there, and you know, you maybe look at the most recent team that we played, Texas. They've got real great size, but there's just a couple of them down there. Miami's going to bring everyone, and so everyone's going to have to, you know, really do their job boxing out, keeping everyone off the glass, knowing that that's oftentimes Miami's best offense is just offensive rebounds and putbacks.
How important is it going to be to get Anna Gret going like she was, you know, a couple weeks ago to make a run?
Well, I think as quick as maybe sometimes you can lose your momentum, you can gain it right back, and we saw her do that several times this year, whether that was hitting big shots or timely shots. I still think that she is that. I know that she is, and we're reminding her daily of that. But it's just a process, and you know, she set out early in the year because of injuries, and so quite honestly, the scout just wasn't out on her. So when you get into conference, okay, you look at some of our players who were starting and playing a lot of minutes, the scout was already out on them. It wasn't out on her. The second time around in conference, it's kind of like, okay, people have figured her out. And so I also think it's just a, you know, kind of a natural order or progression that's happened for her. But no doubt about it, she is who she is, and I'm confident that she's gonna be fine in the tournament because she's just a player who really embraces big time games.
As a coach,
she talked about before Kansas City, Anna Gret talked about her feeding off of success. That's what she said. I feed off of success. That's what gets me going. Have you perhaps seen any of that as you guys have taken a couple days to just focus on you in that offense?
Yeah, I felt like that was important for our whole team. You know, I mentioned just showing them what they've built and what they've done, and so I mean, yesterday we went through a whole series of, okay, let's look back on these wins and look at what you've done to your opponents, and top 25 wins. You know, multiple games where we almost scored 100 points. I mean, just reminding them of the success that we've all had, and the moments that they've individually been successful. And I think we're in a good headspace with that.
is fun a good word to describe getting away from the grinder that conference play is into a more open situation with teams that aren't as familiar and don't know everything you do?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a breath of fresh air, I would say, not playing someone who knows you like the back of their hand. At the same time, though, it's a lot of work for us, you know, to learn everything that you possibly can in such a short amount of time about your opponent. So I think our team has really, probably our coaches more than our players, have been a little bit of relieved that we don't have the grind of the Big 12 right now. But also just feeling incredibly confident. I don't think there's a conference out there that prepares you as well as the Big 12 does. So we have a great deal of confidence as well.